I recently hosted a live workshop with my friend Mitchell Baldridge on the tax advantages of real estate. We cover bonus depreciation, cost segregation, 1031 exchanges, all the different ways that real estate and all the different things that make real estate the most tax efficient business in the world. So if you want to learn more about Mitchell and what he does, visit recostseg.com. And here is a replay of the workshop that we hosted a few weeks ago. Thanks for listening.
So when I buy a computer mouse or any kind of equipment for my business, I'm making payroll, I can deduct the full price year one. If I pay $30 for this mouse, I'm using it for business, boom, I can deduct $30 against my taxes, and I can literally save 25% of that or 30% of it or whatever tax bracket I'm in. Now, when you buy a piece of real estate, you can't just depreciate it, deduct it all in year one on your taxes, even though it's a legitimate expense. Okay, there's a depreciation schedule and what the government calls a useful life for real estate. So if I buy this house, I'm working in a residence. I'm at my home right now. I'm in the basement. If I buy this house for $1 million, I can depreciate it, deduct it slowly against my taxes, and we got to pull out land value. We'll talk about that in a second. But we depreciate over 27 and a half years. So every year for 27 and a half years, I deduct the value of this house, what I paid for it against my taxes, or $36,300 a year. That's 3.63% of it. Now, commercial real estate has a longer useful life, like a warehouse building, something along those lines. It's 39 years. If I buy a self-storage facility and the buildings are worth, maybe I pay 1.2 million, the land is worth $200,000. You can't deduct or depreciate the land, but we have $1 million remaining. We depreciate that over 39 years or $25,300 a year. That's how depreciation works. So if I buy $1 million building, divided by 39 years, $25,600 per year, every year for 39 years.
Yep. So we're walking into the shallow end of the pool right here. So, think about items below, say, $2,500 that you can just say, these are supplies. This is an ordinary, reasonable expense of running this business. I'm going to write it off today. But when you get into, $10,000 of machinery or equipment or furniture or fixtures or, all the way up to humongous capital improvements like real estate, you're going to have to put those on longer timelines. So, 5, 7, 15, all the way up to 27, 39 years. And so that's the basic concept here of, is this a supply? Is it a expenditure, or is this a capital item that has to be realized and depreciated over time?
And let's say that this building, we buy a $1 million building. Let's say it makes $60,000 a year of net operating income.
Yep.
How depreciation is so powerful is that every year, this depreciation is a line item on your expenses, but not a real expense. So if you buy the property for $1 million, you get $60,000 of net income, you're deducting $25,641, 2.56% if this is a commercial building, from your taxable income every year for 39 straight years. That's 42% of your profits that are real profits that are shielded from taxes. Those taxes are deferred. And the great thing about this is that you can leverage, we're going to talk about the different pillars of real estate, but if you borrow $600,000, $700,000, $800,000 to do this, you still get to depreciate that as expense year over year over year.
So this gets into this very kind of like, everyone understands a bank account, or for the most part, if you sell $1 million and it comes into your bank account and you spend $400,000 on OpEx that just goes out the door, everyone gets that. But now we're getting into this kind of like second layer of accounting that is somewhat esoteric, which are these kind of like phantom costs. And yes, depreciation is a real expense in the sense that like everything, entropy is real and everything around us is breaking constantly all the time. But your building is not breaking 1/39th of the improvement costs every year. It's kind of it's just a random number that the IRS puts out there and lets you deduct. So it's a huge opportunity, and it's a planning issue, frankly.
Now let's talk about useful lives and
Sure.
the IRS schedule that says, hold on, wait a minute. This whole house that I'm in, every bit of the house doesn't actually have a 27.5 year lifespan, or every bit of a commercial building doesn't have a 39-year lifespan. There's other things that have shorter lifespans that you can depreciate those values quicker. Landscaping, sidewalks, parking lots, stormwater infrastructure, earthwork, carpeting, electricity, appliances, windows, doors, movable walls, overhead doors. There's all these different parts of a building that the government agrees actually don't even have that long of a useful life. So what you can do is you can put dollar values on these. You cost segregate. You pay an engineering firm to build a report for you that shows you all these different things and put dollar values on them. So that what you can do is you can give them 5-year, 7-year, 15-year lifespans, and you can front load a lot of that depreciation. You can get it quicker. So instead of maybe 3.6% year one depreciation, you can get, more like 8% or 9% for the first 5 years. And then you're kind of knocking off a lot of that depreciation quicker. And then there's this thing called bonus depreciation. Now, before 2017, there was really only bonus depreciation available for developers. If you built a building from the ground up, then you could do this thing called bonus depreciation, which makes a certain percentage of those first year costs all depreciable in year one. This is basically a tax. I like to call it a tax loophole. Tax Twitter hates that. It's really a tax advantage to incentivize buying real estate, to where a lot of things with under, what's the year lifespan, Mitchell, that it's under a certain amount?
It's 15 and below. So, all the 15-year site work, all of that stuff is bonus depreciable. And then the 7 and the 5-year as well.
And what this does is it allows a real estate investor to buy a building, and a good chunk. In self-storage, we bought some deals last year that 25, 30% of our purchase price was determined to be this, 15-year and under useful life things, movable walls, landscaping, earthwork, stormwater plans, things like that. All that value got lumped into what's called bonus depreciation eligible. And this allows you to deduct it against your percentage. Now, back in 2017, it was 100% bonus depreciation. All this stuff, year one. 2018, it was starting to phase out. 2021 came. The CARES Act went, to fight the pandemic, allowed, for 100% bonus depreciation for 21, 22, and then 23 stepped down to 80% bonus depreciation. 24 steps down to 60% bonus depreciation. Now it's back in front of Congress, actually this week, to potentially be back up to 100% bonus depreciation, which we would have a big party in the real estate world if that were to happen. But this stuff gets really powerful. Anything I missed there, Mitchell, before we jump right into an example so we can start to wrap our heads around how this works?
Yeah, I think everything I'm talking about will hit into this example. But, we started with this $1 million big industrial building. So we're going to take the land and separate the improvements. Land is not depreciable. Land just kind of sits there forever. Hopefully land always holds its value. And then, ordinarily your CPA would just say, oh, you have $1 million of improvement. We're just going to divide by 39 and take it once a year. What Nick's saying, and what we do at RE Cost Seg, is picture in your mind's eye one of those blueprint blowout diagrams with every piece of the building. We try to take the building and put it into its component parts, assign every one of those parts a life. And some of them are 39 years, some are 15, some are 7, some are 5. And all of the short life property, we get to take a massive tax savings right up front.
There's a lot of questions about, can I do this to a primary residence, a house that I'm living in? And the answer is no. It has to be an investment property. It has to be a property that you are trying to make money on. Somebody's paying you rent. But let's run through an example. People even say like, hey, I have a renter in my basement, but we live upstairs. Should I do it? And generally, even then, we recommend no. It's just too much brain damage. Yep. So let's run through an example. We buy a property for $1 million. $200,000, and this is all right in front of you. $200,000 of it is land value. So we have $800,000 left that our cost segregation study has shown is applicable to the building. Now, 30% of it is 5 to 15 year. This is an example. 30% of that building value is between 5 and 15 year useful life, or $240,000. $240K is the bonus eligible amount, of which 80%, this was made just before the beginning of the new year. So 80% of that which is $192,000, could be taken as a year one deduction if you were to close on that and put it in service in 2023. 60% of it if you were to do it today, close today in 2024.
That's 144.
And look at how powerful this is. Okay, you have $1 million asset that you bought, and it's going to produce about $60,000 a year of profit for you, taxable profit, net operating income. $192,000 deduction on it is literally carries forward an operating loss of $132,000. 13.2% of the purchase price if you were to close in 2023. That's a little lower, more like about 8 or 9 to 10% if you were to close in 2024. But, that's a massive advantage. You bought an asset that made you money in that year. You used a lot of bank leverage potentially to buy it, and you took back a $132,000 net operating loss on the purchase price. Yep. This is the magic. This is what happens when you hear, who, paying $700 in taxes when they were trying to find his tax return back in 2016. Like, this is how real estate investors can make millions of dollars and pay almost nothing in taxes, because they're buying property every year, accumulating this bonus depreciation, and it's offsetting income from other assets and other types.
Yeah. And this is a great example in that, put $500,000 down to buy $1.5 million property. So this is an extremely high leverage. It's moderate. And then, getting $250,000 to buy $1.5 million building. This isn't a knock it out of the park case. This is a very kind of ordinary outcome for folks that we work with, which is, you put $500K down, you get a $250K deduction, and you can watch that get worked down. It's 192 last year. It'd be, 140 something this year. But, it basically takes dollars that would have been equity dollars into a deal and gives you a deduction in the current year for those dollars, which is really valuable.
Yep. Super powerful. So I'm going to do a quick shout out. There's a lot of people asking questions right now in the Q&A. Hey, how do I figure out what percentage of my building is eligible for bonus depreciation? Yep. If you go to recostseg.com right now and fill out the quote request form, we'll send you a free proposal that tells you what the study costs and exactly, or not exactly, but a very close estimate of what the depreciation will be. Now, I don't want to spend a lot of time pumping RE cost seg. You can use any kind of cost segregation firm that you want, but you need to reach out to a cost seg firm. They'll give you a free proposal that'll show you, how much potential tax savings year one you'll get. You can do this to properties you're under contract on. You can do this to properties you bought. And the interesting thing is, Mitchell, we can carry this back a few years too, right? So if you bought a property in 2022, 2021, 2020 that you never did a cost seg study on, go to recostseg.com, fill out the form and check that out.
Big news, guys. I created a free PDF that details my method on how I analyze a self-storage facility and figure out what it's worth. Give me a pen, the back of a napkin, and a couple metrics, and I can figure out about what the property is going to be worth to me. If you want to download this PDF, click in the show notes, the first link, and you can give me your email address, and you get a email right away with 4-page PDF that outlines exactly how I think about underwriting or giving my initial analysis on a self-storage facility. Again, click the link in the show notes, and you're going to get that document for free. This episode of The Nick Huber Show is brought to you by RE CostSeg. If you want to maximize your bonus depreciation and minimize your tax liability, make sure to do a cost segregation study on real estate you've recently acquired. RE CostSeg offers the lowest priced, fully engineered studies in the business, and you get a virtual site visit with a quick turnaround. They did 30 plus cost seg studies for me over the past year, including a short-term rental, along with my self-storage facilities. And I'm also an investor in the business, along with my good friend and CPA, Mitchell Baldridge, who you all know. To learn more about how bonus depreciation works, listen to episode 75 of The Nick Huber Show, or visit recostseg.com to go ahead and get a free proposal that outlines the cost of the study and your potential savings. Thanks again, recostseg.com.